Welcome to the Stoic Tide. Are you thinking of hitting the reset button on your life? This might just be the roadmap you need. In this special video, we will discuss the Stoic philosophy, which dates back to ancient Greece, and how it is still applicable to overcoming the ups and downs of modern life. We'll look at 25 important Stoic principles that can change how you deal with difficulties and challenges. Stoicism has been an influence to many people over the years. We can face adversity, find tranquility, and keep our composure and serenity, thanks to these principles. But the video does more than just suggest actions. It also talks about 7 behaviors that Stoics say you should avoid, because they can get in the way of personal growth and the search for a worthwhile life. The 25 principles that improve our minds will come first, and then we'll discuss the 7 things you should never do. It is very, very important to know that when we let our guard down mentally, some people may use this to hurt us, unfortunately. Sadism and envy often happen in a lot of places, like at work and social groups and in the family. It's helpful to learn how to protect your weak spots. Think of yourself as a tree in a storm. The branches and leaves may move around, but the base stays strong and fixed. You will learn how to improve your resilience in this video, so that both internal and external turmoil won't affect you. Silent resilience is the skill of staying strong in the face of adversity. The famous philosopher Epictetus came up with the Stoic principles that we will look at. Join us on this journey of self-discovery. We'll learn that real power comes from the serenity of the light that leads us, not from the roar of thunder. Allow yourself to be fully focused on this material by removing all other distractions. One of the main ideas behind Stoic philosophy is the first Stoic principle, which says that listening is more important than speaking. This idea, which is often credited to Epictetus, shows how important it is to value listening over speaking in a world where everyone wants to be heard, and where opinions are formed and shared quickly. Being able to listen with care and understanding is a revolutionary act of wisdom and self-understanding. Not only does listening instead of talking show respect for others, it's also a way to learn and be humble in order to better understand the world and enjoy life. We need to quiet our own words and allow others to share their thoughts. When we listen carefully, we can learn about things, have experiences, and see the world from different points of view. This helps us grow as individuals and as a society. This Stoic principle also teaches us how important it is to be patient and take our time. Slowing down while listening allows for more time for thought and reflection. This helps us respond with more thought and less emotion, which leads to better and deeper connection. Listening builds stronger relationship between people. When we are truly listened to, we feel understood and validated. This builds a strong base for more honest and caring relationships at work and in our personal lives. Being able to listen is becoming more and more important for building stronger, more united groups in a world that is both more and less linked. Simply put, the first Stoic principle, which says to listen instead of speaking, is a strong reminder of how important it is to actively listen. It challenges us to reevaluate how we talk to and interact with other people, promoting a more considerate, compassionate, and linked attitude toward the world around us. The second principle, which is a pearl of Stoic wisdom, tells us not to see loss as a setback, but as a chance to learn and get better. Many of the ideas in this teaching come from Epictetus. It tells us to see mistakes as necessary steps on the way to greatness. This viewpoint provides a novel and helpful approach to adversity in a society that frequently stigmatizes mistakes. This idea tells us that failing is not the end of the road. It is an important part of learning. Every mistake you make teaches you something important that you wouldn't have learned any other way. When we see failure as a teacher instead of an enemy, it changes how we feel about mistakes and turns them into strong tools for our personal and professional growth. Epictetus urges us to examine our errors with interest and openness, rather than with judgment or excessive self-criticism. In his wisdom, this method helps us see not only what we did wrong, but also what we could do better next time. An attitude like this encourages ongoing change, which pushes us to be the best. Also, when we accept that making mistakes is a normal part of the process, we build resilience and the courage to take on new challenges. This helps us be more flexible and ready for the changes and unknowns that come with life, in both your personal and business life. It's important to Be able to get back up after failing and learn from your mistakes when we fail. The second Stoic principle tells us to see it as a chance to grow. It reminds us that the way to greatness is through the lessons we learn from our mistakes. We give ourselves the ability to move forward with more wisdom, resilience, and confidence toward our goals and dreams. By choosing this attitude, the third Stoic principle suggests a practical way to deal with the unknowns in life. Get ready for the worst. This way of thinking is not negative at all. Rather, it supports a good way to deal with the stress and anxiety that we all experience from time to time. When we accept that the worst could happen, we mentally and emotionally get ready for anything that might happen. This builds strong resilience that lets us face the future with more confidence and calm. This theory doesn't say we should be afraid or negative all the time. Instead, it says we should accept that things change and we don't know what will happen next. Next, we can make our minds stronger and more flexible by doing these things so they can handle different situations in order to feel less useless in the face of unforeseen challenges and changes. This approach aids in the development of backup plans and coping mechanisms we learn to value and not take for granted the good and safe times when we get ready for the worst. Our gratitude and respect for life grow as a result of this knowledge, which also teaches us to live in the present with greater joy and passion, because we know that problems and difficulties are part of everyone's life. This training also makes us more sensitive and understanding. Getting ready for the worst can also free us. It forces us to face our darkest fears, and when we do, they often lose some of their power over us. We become less nervous and better able to handle events as they come up when we face and accept potential adversity. To sum up, the third Stoic principle tells us to go into life with an open mind and a reasonable plan. We develop emotional and mental resilience as a result of this practice, which helps us deal with life's risks with more serenity and effectiveness. These things not only prepare us for challenges, but also help us enjoy the good things in life to the fullest. The fourth Stoic principle gives a critical view of wealth and its effects by warning about the possible risks of fortune. This theory stresses that while wealth is often desired and valued, it can also cause moral values to be distorted and people to become estranged from life's real joys. It is a strong warning to stay alert and careful, even when there is a lot of money. This concept doesn't say that wealth is bad in and of itself, but it does say that it shouldn't be the main goal of life, blocking out other important things like relationships, personal growth, and service to others. Fortune can easily entice people with its promises of happiness and safety, but these claims are often false and only last for a short time. This concept from the Stoics reminds us that real happiness and pleasure don't come from getting more stuff. Instead, they come from living a good life with a purpose that is in balance with nature and other people. When you have money, you should use it to reach good goals, not as an end in itself, recognizing that fortune is fleeting and that real wealth lies in character and human relationships. This teaching also supports the practice of temperance and gratitude. Being thankful for what we already have and being pleased with what we have keeps us from being hungry and always wanting more, which is a cycle that often leaves us feeling empty and unhappy. To sum up, the fourth Stoic principle is a warning about the bad things that can happen when you get rich and are called to live a more healthy and worthwhile life. It tells us to always be aware of our wants and needs, and to make sure that our quest of material wealth doesn't take us away from the real sources of happiness and satisfaction. We can live more authentically, intently, and satisfyingly by choosing this attitude. The fifth Stoic principle says that we shouldn't become stuck on a single hope or dream in order to increase flexibility and resilience in a world that is constantly changing. This wise teaching suggests diversifying one's dreams and goals. This way of thinking helps us deal with changed situations and find happiness. In many parts of our lives, this concept acknowledges that becoming emotionally and mentally weak because of being fixated on a single goal or dream. When we put all of our energy and hope into one goal, we leave ourselves open to the ups and downs of luck and fate. If this goal isn't met, we might feel lost or disappointed and not be able to see other chances and openings. We build an emotional and mental safety net by having a variety of goals and objectives. We can stay calm and positive, even if one road to happiness and joy ends, because we know we have other ways to get there. This makes us more flexible and helps us handle the challenges of life with more balance. And peace of mind. We also get more out of life when we have a lot of different hobbies and goals. Each dream or goal presents a unique chance to learn and grow. This helps us learn more things and gain more skills, which makes us better able to make a difference in the world and with the people around us. In short, the fifth Stoic principle tells us to have more than one hope or dream for our lives, and to be open to having different ones. This way of thinking gives us more resilience in the face of uncertainty, which lets us find happiness and satisfaction in many areas of our lives. By doing this, we make our lives fuller, more interesting, and rich. The sixth Stoic principle, which was influenced by Epictetus's thoughts, serves as a good lesson of what real wealth is. When we follow this message, we will understand that real wealth is not in things or having a lot of them, but in being happy and thankful, focusing on gratitude for what we have, rather than complaining about what we don't. Is crucial according to this concept in a society that is often driven by shopping and the never-ending search for more. This point of view makes us think about our values and goals again. Real happiness comes from inside, as Stoic wisdom tells us. By learning to be happy with what we have, we can find inner peace and happiness that doesn't depend on what outside circumstances happen. As a result of this concept, we should have an attitude of gratitude toward life. This means that we should value and be thankful for the things we have, whether they are material things like clothes or relationships, experiences, and personal accomplishments. We work on having a good mood, which makes our lives better. Being thankful makes us more open-hearted and helps us enjoy the little things and regular wonders. Additionally, by emphasizing gratitude and happiness, we become less vulnerable to the difficulties and challenges of life, because we are aware that our happiness and tranquility are not dependent on outside factors but rather are developed within. This position helps us to deal with disappointment and discouragement. The sixth Stoic principle, which was taught by Epictetus, basically says that real wealth is a happy and thankful heart. Through practicing gratitude and being happy with what we already have, we can stop always wanting more and find happiness and contentment in the good things that happen to us. This concept helps us live a better, happier, and more worthwhile life. The seventh principle is a deep invitation to think about death and how short life is. We are reminded that our time in this world is short and unsure, and that every moment is valuable and shouldn't be lost. This concept tells us to look deeper than the selfishness and shallow ESS that rule our society. It tells us not to spend our time and energy on things and money that will disappear after we die. Instead, it tells us to put our time and energy into relationships and experiences that make our soul stronger. Knowing that we only have so much time means seeing each second as a chance to learn, grow, and make a difference in the world. It means realizing that what really makes us rich are the things we do, lessons we learn, and the relationships we form with other people. This theory tells us to live more carefully and thoughtfully, looking for things that make us happy and give us long-lasting pleasure. It also tells us to make and keep relationships that are real and important. It tells us how important it is to build strong relationships with family, friends, and the people in our community, as especially in a world where exchanges are often shallow and short-lived. These connections are the real gems of life. They give you support, love, and company. When things are tough, when we realize that we are going to die, we are inspired to live with more purpose and desire, and we want to leave a good memory by making the world a better place. In some way, by doing this, we might support social causes, work on creative projects, or just enjoy being with our loved ones. In short, the seventh Stoic principle tells us to enjoy every moment of our lives, because the beauty of our lives comes from the important relationships and experiences we have. By following this concept, we can keep our attention on what's important and feel more satisfied and fulfilled in our lives. According to the eighth Stoic principle, we should try to become less attached to material things and outside events. This lesson, which was influenced by the writings of Marcus Aurelius, tells us that real freedom and happiness come from within, not outside. Being detached from things doesn't mean giving them up or living a life of lack. Instead, it means freeing our minds and emotions from being tied to them. When we care too much about material things, we can experience anxiety, stress, and unhappiness. By learning to be detached, we can find more inner freedom, and peace of mind that isn't tied to what's going on in the outside world. Because we are not mentally tied to results or expectations, we can deal with life's ups and downs with greater calm and serenity. Having a more open and removed view of life is another benefit of detachment. We don't connect with our material belongings or accomplishments. Instead, we see ourselves as spiritual beings who are not limited by time. Now that we understand this, we can live more honestly and without trying to impress other people or show how valuable we are through our things at the same time. Separation lets us focus on what's important in life, our relationships, our own growth, and how we can help others when we stop worrying about material things. We can spend more time and energy on projects and activities that really excite and are important to us. To put it simply, the 8th Stoic principle tells us to become less attached to material things and outside events. We find more inner freedom and peace that doesn't depend on what's going on around us when we do this. This helps us live more honestly, happily, and purposefully, which makes our lives and the lives of those around us better. The 9th Stoic principle is a strong warning of how important it is to accept the things we can't change and focus on the things we can. This teaching, which was influenced by Epictetus's thoughts, encourages us to adopt a serenity and acceptance-oriented outlook in the face of unavoidable circumstances. Accepting what can't be changed doesn't mean giving up and letting bad things happen to you. It means facing truth and finding ways to deal with it. This gives us more energy and focus to work on changing what we can, like how we think, what we do, and how we react to things that happen in our lives. This idea tells us that real freedom and power come from being able to pick how to react to things, not from being able to control those things. We find more inner peace and mental balance when we stop fighting what is going to happen. Also, when we accept what we can't change, we have more energy to work on what we can do to make things better, instead of spending time and energy thinking about things we can't change. This lets us take effective steps to change the things we can. The 9th Stoic principle tells us to accept the things we can't change and concentrate on the things we can. We find more inner peace, serenity, and success in our lives. When we do this helps us live more honestly and with a sense of purpose, making the most of our skills and resources to build a life that is important and satisfying. The 10th Stoic principle tells us how to deal with our feelings and stay calm in difficult or stressful conditions. This lesson, which was influenced by Seneca's thoughts, tells us that we are not helpless victims of our feelings. Rather, we have the ability to choose how to react. Being self-aware helps us feel our feelings as they come up, without judging them or pushing them down. By doing this, we can see our natural responses more clearly and choose how to act in a more thoughtful and helpful way in times of worry or anxiety. Mindful breathing is a strong tool that can help us stay cool and clear-headed. We can calm down the sympathetic nervous system and make the body and mind feel more relaxed by taking a few moments to focus on our breath and then breathing slowly. Additionally, practicing awareness helps us become more aware of and present in the current time. When we train our minds to focus on the present moment, we can break out of the circle of worry and ruminating that often comes with stress and anxiety. The 10th Stoic principle basically tells us how to control our feelings and stay calm when things get tough. We can develop greater mental clarity and emotional serenity in our lives by practicing self-awareness, thoughtful breathing, and mindfulness. This makes it possible for us to deal with challenges and difficulties more skillfully and to experience more happiness, contentment, and peace in our lives. Moderation and balance are important in every part of our lives. As the 11th Stone principle tells us, this teaching, which was influenced by Epictetus's thoughts, encourages us to find a balance between two extremes and to stay away from abuses that can cause pain and dissatisfaction. The practice of temperance helps us become more self-disciplined and in control of our lives. The more we learn to control our actions and wants, the more we can resist harmful urges and make smarter decisions. Moderation also helps us find a good balance between our wants and needs, so we don't go too far or too little. We can live happier, more fulfilling lives if we learn how to meet our needs in the right way. To put it simply, the 11th Stoic principle tells us to live our lives in moderation and balance. By doing this, we develop more self-control and self-discipline and stay away from extremes that can cause pain and unhappiness. We can live with more unity, peace and happiness. Because of this, being real and honest is very important in our lives, as the 12th Stoic principle tells us. This teaching, which was influenced by Seneca's thoughts, encourages us to live by our inner values and principles, rather than putting our honesty at risk to please others or get money being honest with others. Helps us build real, important relationships with them by being honest and open with each other. We build trust and respect, which is the basis for relationships that last and bring happiness. Being real also helps us live honestly and in line with our core values and principles. Because we are living in line with what really means to us, we feel more inner peace and happiness in our lives. To sum up, the 12th Stoic principle tells us to be real and honest in every part of our lives. By doing this, we can build deeper, more enjoyable relationships with other people and find more peace and happiness in our own lives. If you want to live a full and worthwhile life, these 12 Stoic principles can help. We can develop greater mental clarity, emotional serenity, and happiness in our lives by incorporating these lessons into our daily lives, which will help us must live with more authenticity, purpose, and joy, spread love and kindness every day. In this way, the 7th principle is a call to reflection and change. It challenges us to rethink our goals and pick a path that is consistent with our inner values. By doing this, we not only make our own lives better, but we also affect the lives of those around us, sending good waves that last long after we're gone. As the principle says, humility is one of the most important things you can do to keep learning. It tells us that there is always more to learn and new points of view to study, no matter how much we think we know. This concept says that the key to real wisdom is not to learn as much as possible, but to keep your mind open to all the different ways you can learn and grow. When we are learning, being humble means realizing that what we know now is limited and temporary, and that the world around us is always changing. This means that we should be ready to question our views and opinions, and be ready to change what we think is true. By doing this, we make room for new ideas and knowledge, which broadens our view of the world and helps us understand it better. This idea tells us to not only learn new things, but also to value other people's experiences and points of view. This idea says that everyone has something useful to share, and that different ideas and experiences make learning more interesting. Being humble helps us learn to listen and see things from other people's points of view, which is important for our own growth and the growth of society as a whole. Being humble also helps us deal with our mistakes and failures in a healthy way. We don't have to be down or defensive when things go wrong. Instead, we can see them as chances to learn and get better. This way of thinking makes us stronger and more flexible, which are important skills in a world that is always changing. So accepting humility as you learn is a path of self-discovery and growth. It tells us to learn more about ourselves and the world around us so that we can understand life's beauty and complexity better. Being humble and interested in new things can lead to a life full of learning, growth, and change. This concept helps us live more intentionally and with more awareness so we can keep learning in the school of life. Additionally, the 9th principle talks about the value of taking personal responsibility and being around people who inspire us to be our best selves. People have the power and responsibility to make choices that affect their own lives and the lives of those around them. This theory tells us of this. It stresses that becoming the best version of yourself is not a trip that you go on by yourself, but one that is made better and stronger by having other people with you and supporting you. Personal responsibility means realizing that we are the ones who make our lives what they are. This means that we have to be in charge of our actions, thoughts, and feelings and know how they affect our health and the health of others. You should know yourself. Think about the choices you make and act in a way that fits with your core values and goals. It tells us to own up to our mistakes, learn from them, and make changes for the better. On the other hand, the principle also shows how important it is to be around people who push us to grow and inspire us. People who show us the traits and accomplishments we want to achieve can be teachers, friends, family, or coworkers. They are like windows that show us what is possible and inspire us to follow our dreams with honesty and drive. The presence of these people in our lives makes it easier for us to grow and change throughout our lives. The 10th guideline talks about shame, which is a very important part of being human. It tells us to stay away from the crippling grip of guilt and instead take creative responsibility. For our actions, this concept acknowledges that feeling guilty after making a mistake or failing is normal, but staying in that state can be harmful and stop you from growing as a person. We are told to take a more engaged and positive approach instead of letting guilt take over our lives. If you don't deal with your guilt, it can make you feel bad about yourself and make it hard to move on. The 10th principle tells us that while we all make mistakes, how we deal with them is more crucial. Instead of focusing on who is to blame, we should take what we've learned and use it to get better. This means that we have to admit when we're wrong, know what happens when we do, and fix our mistake, so they don't happen again. One important step in this process is to accept blame. It means taking an honest, unbiased look at what we did and how it affected other people. We don't try to explain or blame others for the things that happen or that we cause. Instead, we take responsibility for what we do. Not beating yourself up over this is not an act of self-flagellation. It is an adult awareness that can lead to positive change. The concept also says that instead of blaming, we should take good action and helpful reflection. We shouldn't blame ourselves by thinking about what we did. Instead, we should think about how we can get better and fix any damage we've done. This could mean saying, sorry, getting things right, or just changing how we act, so we don't make the same mistake again. To get past blame, you need to be kind to yourself. When we do this, we show ourselves the same compassion and kindness that we would give to a friend in the same position. We can learn to accept ourselves and keep on growing as people with more wisdom and resilience if we acknowledge that being human means having flaws. It tells us to own up to our mistakes, learn from them, and move on with a better, more responsible mindset. By doing this, we break free from the ties of guilt and open the way for a fuller, more real life that is always changing and getting better. A strong reflection on the nature of our responses and how they influence the course of our lives is provided by the 11th principle that makes the point even stronger. We can't change everything that happens to us, but we can choose how to react to it. The existence of challenges and failures in life is acknowledged by this concept. We all have hard times, whether they are in our daily lives, at work, or emotionally. This idea isn't about the problems themselves, though. It's about how we choose to deal with them. Every action we take, whether we are aware of it or not, is a choice that can either help us learn and grow or stay the same and suffer. The main point is that we need to become more aware and deliberate in how we respond. It's about learning to wait before responding, which will help us see things more clearly and pick the best thing to do. We can turn challenges into chances for growth and self-improvement. By doing this, the principle also stresses how important it is to have a good and strong mood. This does not mean avoiding pain or difficulties. Rather, it means meeting them with strength and hope. We don't have to let bad feelings take over our lives. Instead, we can look for lessons in every situation and use them to boost our power and wisdom. Going forward, the 11th principle also tells us to ask for help when we need it. Our responses are unique to us, but we don't have to go through our problems by ourselves. Help from friends, family, or experts can provide fresh ideas and tools for overcoming adversity. Our lives start to change for the better as we get better at dealing with adversity in a healthy way. We grow as people and move closer to a future that fits our values and goals when we make choices that we are aware of. It tells us to deal with adversity with knowledge, courage, and hope, seeing each problem as a step toward a better and more fulfilling future. The 12th principle stresses how important it is to always honor our tasks and responsibilities and do what we're supposed to do. This concept is a strong warning that what we do and choose affects not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us and society as a whole. We are told to follow the best moral standards and be responsible for what we do and promise to do our job. We must be aware of and uphold the duties we have toward ourselves, others, and the group as a whole. Following a personal code of ethics that leads all of our interactions and decisions is part of it. It's not just meeting clear standards like job or family duties. It means being honest, keeping our word, and being there for those who can count on us both physically and mentally. Being honest and fair in everything we say and do, even when no one is looking, is what it means to act honestly and with integrity. Living by the moral and ethical principles we hold dear is another aspect of integrity. In addition to following the law, this means making the right choice even if it's the hardest one and sticking to our values, even when other people try to get us to change them, the determination to do your best in everything you do despite difficulties and challenges is what we call dedication. It means putting in hard work and energy in our relationships at work and in our pursuit of our goals. We strive for greatness and quality in everything we do because we are dedicated to doing better all the time. This concept also tells us how important it is to take responsibility for our actions and the results of those actions. Individual responsibility is a key part of a fair and well-run society, and we can all help make the world a better place. This means being aware of how our actions affect other people and the world around us, and choosing to act in ways that support justice and well-being. The 13th principle talks about how important it is to have self-control and mental independence. It also talks about how important it is to learn to be unafraid of other people's opinions and behaviors. This principle encourages us to develop a serenity that is unwavering in the face of outward storms. It is a call to mental growth and inner strength. The ability to control one's own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors, especially in challenging or upsetting circumstances, is referred to as self-control. It means being able to stay calm and collected, even when you are being criticized, turned down, or attacked. Self-control means being able to answer instead of reacting on the spot. This allows us to make deliberate choices. Beyond self-control, emotional liberty includes, it means, becoming more independent on the inside so our happiness and peace of mind aren't affected by what other people do or say. It means realizing that we can't change how other people act, but we can change how we react to it when we have emotional liberty. We know that we are the only ones responsible for our feelings and that we can keep our inner balance no matter what is going on around us. We can learn from this idea that people's behaviors are often more about them than about us knowing. This helps us not take personally every word or action that is said or done to us. We can choose to deal with things with understanding, kindness, and an open mind. Instead of giving in to our anger, bitterness, or sadness, it takes time and practice to learn self-control and mental independence. Mindfulness methods, in-depth reflection therapy, and the search for greater self-awareness may all be part of this. It could also mean learning how to set healthy limit and leaving bad situations or relationships that keep making us feel bad inside. It's not in the 13th principle that we should not care about other people or be uncaring. On the contrary, becoming more emotionally stable makes us better able to offer real support, care, and understanding in a better and more useful way. This lets us be present and open to others. Sticking to the 14th principle, which says that living a simpler, more focused life is the way to a better, more worthwhile life, shows how important it is to be simple. This principle isn't just about getting rid of unnecessary things or lowering the number of things we own. It's also a call to rethink our values, goals, and how we spend our time and energy to live simply. You have to choose to do less but better, knowing that having too many things often takes our attention away from what really counts is what this is about. By getting rid of the unnecessary and focusing on what's important, we make room for the things that really make our lives satisfying and joyful, like relationships, experiences, personal growth, and giving back to the community. It's also about being able to think clearly and cutting down on unnecessary information and stimulation to get back to peace of mind and focus in a world full of messages and requests. Choosing simplicity is a good idea. In this case, limited media use. Making time for meditation and reflection, or just slowing down to enjoy the current moment are all possible options. Adopting a simple way of life doesn't mean giving up comforts and pleasures. Instead, it means finding happiness in the simplest and most lasting things in life. It's a choice for a life with fewer distractions and more focus, where choices are based on what really makes life worth living. Our natural impact is smaller when we choose more carefully and consume less. This also helps make the system more fair and sustainable. This shows that we care about more than just our own health. We care about the health of future generations and the health of the world as a whole. Being simple also teaches us to be thankful for what we have, and instead of always wanting more, we can find happiness and respect in life by appreciating and loving what we already have. Finding joy in the small everyday things is made possible by this attitude of gratitude, which also makes us happier and more fulfilled. The 14 principles tell you everything you need to know to live a full and worthwhile life. We can live a more true and satisfying life by practicing kindness, compassion, humility, personal responsibility, ongoing education, overcoming guilt, being aware of our responses, doing our jobs honestly and devotedly, self-control, emotional independence, and simplicity. These principles push us to think about what we do to always get better, and to look for happiness and satisfaction in everything we do for ourselves and others. We can make the world a more caring, aware, and peaceful place by following these principles. Every day this is very important for having a fuller and more interesting life. To sum up, the 14th principle tells us to look for simplicity as a way to get rid of unnecessary things and concentrate on what's important. By doing this, we not only make our own lives better, but we also help make the world more healthy and fair. The 15th principle emphasizes the value of emotional resilience and encourages us to learn how to keep our inner calm and serenity, even when we are confronted with external stress. This principle acknowledges that life is full of challenges, and that we will surely come across people and events that test our emotional and mental equilibrium. However, we should not let these things bring us down. Instead, we should work on building an inner power that will keep us steady and focused. The capacity to quickly rebound from difficulties and adjust to change, while remaining composed and focused, is known as emotional resilience. This doesn't mean ignoring or hiding our feelings. It means being aware of them, knowing them, and learning how to handle them well. We are less likely to act on impulse and more likely to handle bad events with care and wisdom when we build emotional resilience. An important part of this concept is ignoring other people's bad moods. A lot of the time, other people's mean words and attitudes are caused by their own problems, not ours. Being aware of this helps us keep our inner peace and not take things personally. But this doesn't mean we shouldn't care about other people's pain. It does mean we should take care of our own energy and mental health, so we can be a good and stable presence for others and ourselves. Meditation, mindfulness, and reflection are all activities that help us become more aware of our thoughts and feelings and help us keep our inner peace. The 15th principle also tells us that mental resilience is a skill that can be learned and improved over time. It takes a lot of work and a dedication to learning about yourself and growing. We can turn our most trying situations into chances to gain even more strength and wisdom by meeting our fears, challenges, and doubts with courage and openness. By learning to ignore other people's bad moods and keep our own peace, we not only make our own lives better, but we also become a source of strength and inspiration for those around us. The 16th principle talks about how valuable friendship is, and how real relationships are much more valuable than any kind of money. This principle tells us that things can make us feel better in the short term, but real friends are what make our lives better in the long term. One of the best ways to connect with other people is through friendship. True friends help us when we need them, accept us for who we are, and share our happiness and sadness. They bring us happiness, motivation, and comfort, and they frequently assist us in overcoming life's greatest challenges. Because the quality of our friendships is one of the best ways to tell if we're living a full and rich life. This principle tells us to value and care for these relationships. The 16th principle not only talks about how important friendship is, but it also asks us to think about how we set priorities in a world where getting more stuff is often seen as a sign of success. People tell us that real wealth comes from relationships and sharing love. This principle challenges us to think about what we really value and to try to find a better balance between material things and building deep, important relationships with others. Friends are very valuable because they help and comfort you, because they understand our problems. They can give us good advice and a new point of view when we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. When we're sad, our friends are there to listen and comfort us. When we're happy, they are the ones who laugh and celebrate with us. This network of social support is very important to our mental health and our ability to deal with the bad things that happen in life. It takes time, work, and commitment to build real bonds. Listening with understanding and kindness, as well as behaving with care and presence, are all parts of this. Being a real friend also means giving the same amount of love and support that you hope to receive. This principle tells us to take the initiative to make our friendship stronger by putting in time and effort to build these important bonds. The 17th principle brings up an important piece of wisdom for inner peace and well-being. We should focus our attention and energy on what we can control and learn to accept what we can't change. This message is very important for lowering stress and anxiety and making our lives more peaceful and balanced. Focusing on what we can change means being aware of and accountable for our own thoughts, words, and actions. We waste a lot of time and energy thinking about things that are out of our control, like other people's choices or the way their lives are moving. That effort to things we can really change, like our attitudes, choices, and behaviors, is what this principle tells us to do. Not only does this make our own lives better, but it also sets a good model for others accepting what we can't change. On the other hand, means realizing that there are things in life like other people's actions, results, and world events that we can't change. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means seeing things clearly and rationally without letting them bother us or control our emotions. When we accept what we can't change, we let go of the tightness and stress that come from fighting reality. This lets us react in more flexible and creative ways. Mindfulness and meditation techniques, which help us stay in the present and become more aware of our thoughts and feelings, are frequently used in conjunction with acceptance methods. This lets us watch our inner responses without judging them and with kindness, which makes it easier to accept and let go. Being aware of and accepting the things we can't change makes us more adaptable and able to handle life's challenges with a more focused and calm attitude. By using this strategy, we not only find more peace and balance in our daily lives, but we also get ready to deal with uncertainty and difficulties in a better and healthy way. If you want to live a more peaceful and happy life full of acceptance, resilience, and focus on the present, this concept is the key. Even when things are really bad, the 18th principle is a strong warning that there are still chances to improve and grow. It tells us to keep a positive attitude and look for the good and teachable parts of every situation, even those that involve adversity and hardship. In addition to telling us to get past problems, this principle also tells us to use them as stepping stones to reach better levels of happiness and knowledge. It takes a shift in perspective to see potential in adversity. Instead of focusing on the bad things that happen in a tough situation, we should look for the chances to learn and grow that it presents. Every struggle is an opportunity to grow as a person and improve yourself. We can improve our skills, see things from different angles, and become stronger as people by meeting problems with courage and drive. There is also a strong emphasis on resilience and flexibility in this concept. Our ability to bounce back quickly from adversity while keeping a positive mood and the drive to keep trying is known as resilience. On the other hand, being flexible lets us change our plans and tactics as needed. Seeing change as a part of growing. All of these traits help us deal with the unknowns in life and find meaning in every situation. The 18th principle also tells us to look for motivation and support from people who have faced adversity. We build a network of support amongst ourselves that bolsters and motivates us by sharing our experiences and lessons learned from overcoming adversity. This not only helps us deal with our own problems, but it also lets us help other people grow and be healthy. We can grow our gratitude and positivity by always looking for the good in things. Focusing on the good, even when things are bad, helps us develop an outlook of gratitude and wealth that makes our lives better. Because of this, we are stronger in the face of adversity and more receptive to the good things and chances that every day brings by. Using this strategy, we turn challenges into opportunities for growth, building resilience, adaptability, and a positive attitude that helps us reach our goals and feel fulfilled. The 19th principle challenges us to accept what we can't change, which is a lesson in wisdom and serenity. This concept is a strong warning that many things in life are out of our control, no matter how hard we try or how much we want them. Things that happen in the world, other people's acts, and the bigger forces that create it often happen on their own, regardless of what we do or how we feel. Realizing and accepting things we can't change is not a sign of weakness or giving up. It shows that you are mature and understand the situation. We have the power to use our freedom and control where it counts most when we pay attention to how we act and respond. You should focus on making yourself better, acting in an honest way, and making smart decisions instead of worried about the unknowns and unpredictabilities of life. There is a lot less stress and anxiety when we accept the things we can't change. This is because we let go of our false standards and the need to control everything. There is peace and happiness in what we can change and accepting life as it is, and being able to handle its ups and downs with resilience and flexibility. In addition, this concept teaches us to have more kindness and understanding. Since we can't control other people, we learn to accept people for who they are with all of their problems and paths. When respect and understanding are core values, this leads to better relationships and a society that works better together. When we accept what we can't change, we are more likely to live in the present and enjoy each moment and the chances it brings, instead of dwelling on fears about the future or regrets about the past. In a nutshell, the 19th principle is a call to acceptance and serenity in the face of change. We can live more healthy and happy lives by accepting the things we can't change and focusing on the things we can. This will help us develop resilience, kindness, and wisdom as we go through life. This concept is like a compass that helps us find our way through life's storms. It reminds us that we can't change the wind, but we can adjust our boats. Live in harmony with nature is the 20th principle, which asks you to connect deeply with yourself and the world around you. This idea isn't just about nature in the surroundings, it's also about the nature inside each of us and the way the universe is supposed to be. It means being aware of and considering our own wants, skills, and boundaries, as well as knowing where we fit in the bigger picture of life. Knowing yourself well is the first step to living in harmony with nature. It's a call to find out who we really are without masks or society standards. To do this, we need to understand our feelings, fears, wants, and everything else that makes us who we are. In this way, we can start to make choices and actions that are in line with who we really are, living in an honest and complete way. This idea also tells us to be aware of and respect our mental and physical boundaries. Knowing and agreeing with these boundaries is not a restriction. It's a way to make our lives more harmonious. Instead of going against who we are, we try to find ways to work with it so that our lives are more fair and less difficult. Living in harmony with nature also means realizing that we are a part of something bigger. We know that each living thing in the world plays a part in the environment and makes a contribution. In turn, this makes people value and respect nature and all living things more. We become more aware of how our actions affect people other than ourselves, and we start to live more carefully and wisely. Life is a circle of growth, change, and rebirth, which is another thing this principle tells us of. We are called to accept and welcome the changes in our lives, seeing them as natural chances to grow and learn. Just like the seasons change and nature adapts, we often hurt because we don't want to accept these changes. We can be more peaceful and happy if we go with the flow of life. The 20th principle basically tells us to respect and live in balance with our essence and the world around us. It says to know and understand our nature, and the nature around us. We can live in a way that is more real, healthy, and aware. The 21st principle says that the road of virtue is enough to live a full and meaningful life. This concept stresses that the only way to find real happiness and satisfaction is to work on developing and practicing the important virtues, not to get things or short-lived pleasures. Stoic ideals like temperance, courage, wisdom, and fairness are not only great traits, they are also the building blocks of a good life. The value of wisdom is knowing what is good, what is bad, and what doesn't matter. It's about learning how to de-learn and make choices that are in line with our values. Ethical virtues are important for living a full and worthwhile life, but they take time and effort to develop. When we follow the road of virtue, we become more true to ourselves and more spiritual. We live in line with our values and make the world a better place for everyone. This idea tells us that real wealth is not in things we own, but in the things we are focusing on. Building up our character and fostering morals gives us a deeper and longer-lasting sense of happiness than any financial thing could. For short, the road of virtue leads to a meaningful and happy life, in which our actions are in line with our core values, and we make the world a better place for everyone. A deeper and more important part of wisdom is realizing that we can't control everything, and that we have to accept life as it is with all of its unknown, and changes. The ability to meet challenges, get over fears, and stick to our beliefs in the face of adversity is known as courage. To do the right thing, stand up for our views, and act in line with our principles. Even when it is hard or unpopular takes more than just physical strength. Being tolerant means having self-control over your wants and needs. It means being able to act moderately, controlling your feelings and hunger, so that you can live a healthy and happy life. The 21st principle tells us that material things and pleasures may make us happy for a short time, but ethical living gives us permanent happiness and meaning as we seek and show these traits. In everything we do, we not only make our own lives better, but we also make other people smile and be happy. Living a good life means always learning and growing. It takes selfish discipline, constant reflection, and a desire to face our flaws and limits. But this route has infinite benefits. When we accept that virtue is enough, we find a source of happiness and satisfaction that is real, deep, and always fulfilling. Life is full of storms and unknowns, but this principle always reminds us that what counts is who we choose to be and how we choose to live. A state of tranquility of mind, called ataraxic, is urged upon in the 22nd principle. The main idea behind Stoic philosophy is to find deep and lasting inner peace, a serenity that doesn't change no matter what life throws at you or the challenges you face. Ataraxic is not about hiding or ignoring your feelings. It's about learning to understand, accept, and deal with them in a calm and sensible way. Recognizing that feeling are normal reactions to what we see and experience is the first step toward finding inner serenity. We shouldn't try to control or judge them. Instead, we should watch them with interest and understanding. Ataraxic is when we realize that we can't control what happens in the outside world, but we can control how we react to it. That is, you should learn to deal with things with a calm and clear mind, instead of acting on impulse by putting some space between ourselves and our unconscious responses. We can choose answers that are in line with our core values and goals by engaging in awareness and reflection. Virtues like wisdom, bravery, and temperance should also be developed as an important part of ataraxic. Knowing what's important lets us put our energy where it can make the most difference. Courage gives us the ability to face difficulties head-on and stay calm. Even when we are scared or unsure, lack of temperance can throw off our balance and make us feel bad, which can ruin our peace of mind. Practicing gratitude and acceptance is also an important part of keeping ataraxic going. Being thankful for the lessons and gifts we've learned from everything, and accepting the things we can't change, sets us free from the chains of sorrow and desire, letting us live with more respect and real peace. It's important to remember that ataraxic is not a state of emotional disinterest or separation. Instead, it's a way of fully engaging with life where feelings are fully felt, but not allowed to control our actions or determine our health. Constant reflection is suggested as a powerful and life-changing practice in the 23rd principle. As part of this habit, you should think about your deeds, your plans, and your life in general. Every day, it is a challenge to take a close look at yourself. Ask yourself if your actions are good and useful, and find places where you can grow and get better. This exercise makes you more self-aware and more self-disciplined, which makes your life better and your relationships with other people better. Self-reflection is a time to be honest with yourself every night. Take some time to think about what you did and the choices you made. You should ask yourself, do the things I did today show my virtues and values? Could I have done something better? What can I do better tomorrow? This exercise isn't meant to make you feel guilty or sorry for what you did. Instead, it's meant to help you see both wins and mistakes as chances to learn and grow. You gain a better understanding of your motives and behaviors through this practice of self-examination. You will start to see patterns in the way you react and make decisions over time. Some of these patterns may be good for you and help you reach your goals, while others may need to be changed. You have the chance to purposefully change your future actions so that they are more consistent with your goals and principles by becoming more aware of these habits. This can really push you to keep doing things that are in line with your long-term goals and the kind of person you want to be, for overcoming challenges and avoiding short-term desires that can throw you off track. Self-discipline, formed through constant reflection, is a crucial tool. You stop seeing yourself as a set, unchanging person and start seeing yourself as someone who is always changing, always able to learn and get better. Your resilience, ability to handle loss, and willingness to take chances and face new challenges can all improve as a result. Daily reflection makes you more aware of what you're doing and gives you more control over how your life is shaped by your core values. This daily practice will help you learn more about yourself. Be more disciplined and keep growing, which will make your life better and more satisfying. The 24th principle asks us to change how we think about adversity. Instead of seeing it as bad fortune, we should see it as a useful chance to show traits and get stronger. As a result of this concept, we should be bold and positive about challenges, seeing them as opportunities to grow and get better. It takes a major shift in our perception of and response to difficulties in order to see them as chances. We are told not to let failures and challenges make us feel down or beaten, but to see them as opportunities to grow our inner strength, wisdom, and resilience. Every problem we face turns into a test, a chance to use and improve our good qualities like bravery, patience, persistence, and the ability to change. This principle recognizes that while we may not have control over outward situations, we do have control over our reactions to them, which does not downplay the pain or trouble that adversity can bring. When we choose to react with a growth and learning-oriented mindset, we can turn possibly bad situations into useful lessons and chances to get better. We gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and others when we view adversity as a learning opportunity. We come to value the process of overcoming and see the power in meeting and overcoming challenges. We can also help and understand others when they are having a hard time, because we know how important it is to keep going and be brave. This point of view also motivates us to work on our personal growth even when things aren't going well. When we have a constant growth attitude, we are always looking for ways to push our limits, do new things, and get out of our comfort zone. When adversity eventually hits, this makes us stronger and more prepared. We take on a strong, open, and optimistic stance when we view adversity as a chance. This not only makes it easier for us to face challenges, but it also helps us get the most out of each one, turning each one into a stepping stone to becoming a smarter, stronger, and more moral person. The 25th principle tells us to be whole and aware and to live in the moment. Stoic philosophy recognizes how important it is to plan for the future, but it also stresses how important it is to live in the present, focus on the job at hand, and enjoy life as it happens. This principle tells us to stop worrying too much about the future and feeling bad about the past so that we can fully enjoy the present. To live in the present, we have to focus our attention and energy on the here and now and enjoy the experiences and chances it gives us. It means giving our all to whatever we're doing. Whether it's working, talking to other people, or just getting some rest and relaxation. By doing this, we not only become more productive and happy, but we also find more peace and joy within ourselves. We shouldn't ignore the past or the future because of this concept. Learning from the past and making plans for the future are both important parts of life. The Stoics, on the other hand, tell us that the moment is the only world we really have control over. Anxiety and unhappiness can result from thinking too much about the future or feeling bad about the past, which diverts our attention from the present. To live in the present, we have to accept and enjoy life as it is, not how we would like it to be. This means recognizing and accepting the world as it is, with all of its flaws and beauty. By living in the present, we can find the peace and happiness that come from knowing that we can't control everything, but we can always change how we think and feel about things. A strong way to improve your ability to live in the present is to practice awareness. Mindfulness techniques like meditation, mindful breathing, and mindful observation can help us keep our minds and bodies in the present, which makes it less likely that we'll get lost in fears about the future or regrets about the past. By living in the present, we see the beauty and possibilities in every moment. We let go of anxiety about the future and sorrow about the past, and we find a place to grow, learn, and appreciate every hour. One of the most important Stoic philosophers, Marcus, gave us very helpful advice on how to live a healthy and happy life through moderation. His philosophy stresses that overindulging, whether in food or other things, can be bad and cause mental and physical problems, as well as faster wear and tear. Moderation is not just an idea. It is an important part of a history philosophy that says self-control and discipline are the keys to success and a full life in every way. Marcus tells us to find a middle ground between having too much and not having enough. When you do too much of something that makes you feel good in the short term, it can hurt. You physically cause health problems and make you feel guilty or regretful. On the other hand, too much restriction can be bad too. It can make you angry and make you want to give in later. So he tells us to find a middle ground where we can enjoy food and drinks in a way that makes us happy without going overboard, making the experience positive instead of negative. Moderation is a way of life. Life that involves self-control and discipline. It not only leads to personal success and well-being, but it also makes our actions more harmonious and helps us reach our goals and dreams in a more rewarding way. Remember that balance is an important part of life's music and a trait that, when put together, makes life richer and more complete. Stoicism, a philosophy that values inner strength and self-reliance, has as one of its guiding principles the prohibition of disparaging oneself. That means you should never have depressing thoughts or talk to yourself. Aurelius, a ruler and historical philosopher, told us that we shouldn't worry about ourselves even if we don't say anything. This is important for maintaining mental health and self-confidence, because thinking negative thoughts like, "I'm terrible at that," or "I'll never get better all the time," hurts self-esteem and makes you less motivated to be fully aware of our inner conversation. We need to follow the road of Stoicism, as opposed to putting ourselves down. We should work on recognizing our potential and skills, developing a mindset that lets us be sure of our strengths and growth opportunities. We can improve our self-confidence and resilience by actively choosing a positive, growth-focused attitude. This method, which is based on ancient philosophy, tells us that how we talk to ourselves is the first step towards self-control. Adopting an uplifting and inspiring inner dialogue is one of the most important things we can do to build a strong and successful attitude. The way to self-fulfillment and happiness, according to Stoicism, is heavily influenced by how we perceive and deal with challenges. We give ourselves the power to face challenges with confidence and learn from them by adopting a mindset that encourages self-affirmation and an awareness of our strengths. This strengthens the base on which we build our self-confidence and emotional resilience. Following Stoic wisdom, in short, entails developing a positive and helpful inner dialogue in line with the Stoics' principles of inner strength and personal growth. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, gives thoughtful advice on how to improve oneself. He says that we should be humble and careful as we try to become better. He says we shouldn't shout our successes and progress to the four winds. Instead, he says we should let our deeds and changes in character show how much we've grown. True self-improvement is a trip that you take for your own good, not to get praise or attention. Epictetus says that if we talk about our actions all the time, we might lose sight of how sincere our goals are. True personal growth is not mirrored in the things we say, but in the visible and real changes that occur in our behavior, character, and mindset. Most growth should be an ongoing, separate process, focused on our individual unfolding, not a search for outward approval. By taking this method, we let our successes and growth happen on their own, which can ultimately inspire and help other people more than any big statement. Following Epictetus's wisdom, the way to self-improvement is one of modesty and respect. During that trip, we let our actions and results speak for themselves. This was a more honest and powerful way to show how we've grown and how we've helped others. Epictetus's teachings and philosophy make the point that gratitude is an important part of both personal happiness and good ties with other people. Recognizing and appreciating what we have, instead of feeling bad about what we don't have, is a strong habit that makes everyday life better. A lack of appreciation for the kindness of others, or a propensity to undervalue the little things that make life comfortable and happy, can be minor signs of an unappreciative attitude. On the other hand, practicing gratitude makes you actively notice and value all the good things in your life, no matter how big or small they are. This includes opportunities that come up and acts of kindness. Not only does showing gratitude make our lives more meaningful, it also makes our relationships stronger and better, making everyone feel important and loved. When we show lack of gratitude in our daily exchanges, we might push people away, hurt relationships, and make a space where people feel unhappy and unimportant. Expressing gratitude, on the other hand, creates strong ties and good relationships, making the space emotionally supportive and fostering a sense of shared appreciation. Because of this, it is very important to practice gratitude every day, not just for material things, but also for the support, kindness, and love we receive. By focusing on the good things in life, we not only make our own lives better, but we also make our relationships with others stronger, creating an atmosphere of trust and respect. Being grateful is more than just being polite. It's a way to connect with others and grow emotionally. It's a key part of living a fuller, more satisfying life. Stoicism, which is portrayed as ancient wisdom, has a strong resonance in today's society. It's designed that way. So let's listen more than speak in today's world where everyone wants to be heard. This advice is straightforward and prompts thoughtful reflection on how we connect and communicate. It's important to practice active listening. Giving your full attention to words, feelings, and body language while listening carefully is more than just hearing. As we listen carefully, we show respect and appreciation for the thoughts and experiences of others, which can make relationships stronger and communication better in all situations. In the end, being helpful to others and listening also helps our own growth and development by letting us actively take in new ideas and points of view, which broadens our horizons and helps us make better choices. Wisdom tells us that being a good listener takes awareness, real respect, and conscious intelligence. In a world that often values self-expression and being seen, when we develop this skill, it not only improves our exchanges and relationships, but it also opens doors to stronger and more significant career and personal growth when we're in the middle of a talk. Let's remember how listening can change things and find a stronger link and a way to grow personally that is more satisfying. Our minds and how we choose to interpret and react to the world around us play a significant role in how happy we are. Because of this, whining reveals itself to be a circle of futility. Most of the time, it doesn't lead to answers or good change. Instead, it makes people feel like they're being victimized and powerless, which makes them more stressed out and frustrated. Constantly complaining can hurt our relationships by wearing down the people we're with. However, deciding not to worry and focused on the good things in life can change our lives, enhancing mental health, lowering stress, and boosting emotional resilience. People are naturally drawn to positive people, which makes relationships stronger. It also boosts productivity, since whining takes our attention away from finding answers and taking action, which makes us more efficient. It encourages gratitude, which can make us happy and satisfied. Being mindful means being aware of our thoughts and feelings, looking for answers instead of dwelling on the problem, and making it a habit to show gratitude every day. Let us remember what Marcus Aurelius said: the key to happiness is in the way we think and feel. Stoicism urges us to think carefully about when to speak and when to be quiet, with its concept of choosing silence. This way of thinking can greatly improve our personal growth and our relationships with other people. Not everything we feel or think has to be said. Selective silence can help us live our lives with more purpose and wisdom, which will lead to a better and more important experience of it. Continue to learn about this deep philosophy, because it has lessons that can help us find power, wisdom, and peace within ourselves. Thanks for listening and watching. See you in the next video.